Metroid was the video game series that got me hooked on gaming as a kid. The sheer fun and pain I felt playing the original Metroids, followed by then Metroid Prime, defined my gaming life in the early 2000s. But like so many other loyal fans, I had abandoned all hope on the franchise ever bouncing back, so when Metroid Dread was announced, you can imagine my excitement. Finally, a new honest-to-God 2D Metroid game to play, and not whatever the fuck Other M was supposed to be. This won't be a full breakdown analysis of the game because A, that can come later because Dread truly merits a comprehensive comparative analysis, but also B, because that shit takes time and I'm still trying to work on my speed run on hard mode, so I'm a little bit distracted. I simply wanted to take this time to get my thoughts out there and explain how it feels to play Dread compared to other Metroids, what Dread does well, and why this game deserves to be played. I had really high expectations for Dread, as did many others, and by God, did the game surpass them and more. This is Silver, let's get to it. Super Metroid is regularly brought up as one of the greatest games ever made with good reason. It's a generational masterpiece in adventure platform gaming with gameplay, level design, ambience, storytelling, and score that only a few games have ever been able to match or surpass. Why do I bring this up? Because most of the time I spent playing Metroid Dread, I felt exactly like it did all those years ago playing Super Metroid. Dread is an instant classic 2D Metroidvania, and if you didn't know where the name comes from, you sure as shit should know by now that, in my opinion, combines some of the best elements of Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion, Fusion being the canonical predecessor to Dread. You have that freedom of exploration, the ability to carve your own path, and sequence break you enjoy in Super Metroid, while combining certain aspects of the linear game design from Fusion, in addition to sprinkling in moments of complete hopelessness where all you can do is run and survive from a significantly more powerful enemy. The fact that Dread made me feel so nostalgic, while also making the experience feel fresh and unique, was a welcome surprise. What Dread does surprisingly well is its portrayal of Samus. Unlike the Samus in Metroid Other M, which we like to pretend it doesn't exist, Dread Samus is the most badass version. Finally, we are back to Samus being basically Space Doomslayer, collecting bounties and blowing up planets at every turn. Dread does a fantastic job, one Lord Dump instance aside, of showing, not telling, Samus's journey and how she progressively gets more and more done with everyone's shit, and I love every bit of it. In addition to Samus, what Dread really improves on significantly from the previous games is the gameplay. Featuring some of the best mechanics in any Metroid that I can remember, the controls are enhanced and refined, making every action feel fluid, natural, and exactly what Samus would be doing. Also, it really helps that the game is fucking gorgeous to look at considering the potato console it's being run on. The smooth movement allowed for more creative puzzles that I really appreciate, and some that I'm still stuck on but I refuse to look up a guide on because I want to figure it out on my own. This is not a long game. With trying to collect 100% items, it took me about 9 hours to beat it on normal, but the gameplay is just so much fun, and the feeling of becoming progressively overpowered and re-exploring previous areas is so intoxicating that I can see myself playing the game over and over, trying to better my completion times and try for a good speed run. The level design on Dread is on par or surpasses that of Super Metroid, but that could also just be recency bias, and you can feel the amount of love and time that was put into this game. No shortcuts were taken in the making of this game, aside from the literal teleport shortcuts they included to shorten backtracking, and I wish a certain Metroid game could have done the same thing. Were this game more of the same old Metroid, I'd still be more than happy with it, but the inclusion of the EMMIs as enemies, no, not those EMMIs, truly elevates the entire game. I keep reading that people have mixed feelings about them, but I personally love them and how they add an element of fear, excitement, and dread to the game, similar to how the SAX encounters did in Fusion. Each location has a good chunk of the map guarded by one of the robots, and the game does a really great job in your first encounter to illustrate how fucked you are if they catch you. There's only one way to combat them: find unique energy in each of their locations and use it to take them down. Sounds easy enough, but let's just say navigating the EMMI zones first go around ain't exactly easy, but god damn it if it isn't exhilarating. It's hard to put into words how my heart was racing each encounter with an EMMI when you're trying to carefully sneak through their zone for them to hear that fucking beeping noise and know they're near you, and you need to get the fuck out of there, run for your life, or die, or sometimes both. There are power-ups that make it easier to sneak past them, but let's be honest, I ain't really the sneaking type. I'm a balls deep kind of guy, and you can imagine how well that played out. I haven't died this much in a game since Dark Souls 3, and I loved every second of it. So yeah, the inclusion of the EMMIs is contentious for some, especially This annoying shithead of a video game dev who can't even shoot a fucking block in the ceiling and calls it bad game design. But I feel Dread overall is a better game with their inclusion. There's so much more that can be said about the game, how Dread perfectly handles backtracking so it never feels forced, how the game doesn't force you to go on an endgame scavenger hunt for no fucking reason, or how the final boss is one of my favorite Metroid bosses ever for lore reasons and also just for being a pure badass, but I don't want to spoil anything accidentally like the lemon that I am, so I'll wrap it up here. Overall, I loved every second I spent playing Metroid Dread, and it's right up there with Tales of Arise for the best game I've played all year and my personal pick for Game of the Year. It's not a perfect game. There are certain boss encounters that are kinda certain enemy encounters that are recycled more often than they should, and the exposition dump that occurs halfway through the game could have been handled in a more streamlined way, more in line to the Metroid storytelling of old. But even with those gripes, and several other small ones, they didn't detract too much from my enjoyment of the game. I came in wanting more Metroid, and that's what I got, and so much more. It rekindled my love for a franchise I long left for dead, and I know it has for others too. With now the officially the highest grossing launch in Metroid's history, I can only hope Dread continues to sell well, so we can continue to see newer and better Metroid games. This is a great time to be a Metroid fan, and I'm super excited to see a new generation of people being introduced into this incredible franchise. Many thanks for watching. If you've liked the video, please leave a like and leave a comment. It really helps us out. Feel free to check out some of our other works. We have a podcast that's still ongoing, sometimes, occasionally, so check that out if you have not, as well as other amazing videos on our channel by the other boys. Links to our Discord, Twitter in the description down below. Special thanks to our wonderful patrons for their continued support. It really helps us keep doing what we love. And with that, I'm going to go back to try to 100% this game and also work on some speedruns because goddamn, this game is so much fucking fun. Metroid is finally fucking back, baby!